So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. This is the iPhone XS Max, and in this episode I'm going to share with you why I believe this phone might be a decent option for those of you who have never tried out the iPhone before, and maybe you want a low budget large iPhone here in 2021. If you wait till after the iPhone 13, this phone right here can be had right now for around $400, so it's already pretty budget at this point compared to when it first came out. But if you wait a little bit longer, this phone actually might come down to around $300, which is insane for what this phone offers right here. Let me explain why I believe this is a decent option here, the iPhone XS Max. Okay, so let's begin by talking about the build of this device right here. Now, take a look at that. To me, that still looks beautiful here in 2021. Stainless steel edges on this phone. There's nothing about the iPhone XS Max that screams, I'm not a premium phone. This is a premium phone still to this day. And while it doesn't have the most modern look, it is still a work of art, especially in this gold color right here. Some people may prefer the stainless steel or silver, but I prefer this color right here. Now, I will say that, the back design definitely screams a little bit older iPhone at this point, but there's nothing about this that feels cheap. This also has IP68 dust and water resistance, so if you do get this phone wet in any way, shape, and form, it should be okay. And Gorilla Glass is on the back and on the front of this phone, so when you turn off the display, you'll see that it does pick up a little bit of lint, but it does have a pretty strong display here. It will scratch, so put a screen protector on it if you want to protect it in that way. But overall, the durability, it's a tough phone here in the iPhone XS Max. Still, I believe this is a decent option. I mean, if you take a look at what you could have got a few years back for the price you can get a XS Max for today, it would have been nowhere near this level. So this is a great time to be buying, a new iPhone or even used iPhones, because they're already matured. Even up to this point, it was already a mature product. So 3 years later, the display is still gorgeous. Just look at the tack sharpness of it. Yeah, we got that thing at the top, the notch, but it doesn't bother most Apple users whatsoever. If we go here to the news, we've got some iPhone 13 news going on right now. A lot of that is what everyone's talking about. We'll be covering them all here. Don't get it twisted. We're just taking a look at these old boys right before the new boys get in the building, and we're gonna be covering them here. So be subscribed for that. iPhone 13, we going hard. But you'll see right here, super tack sharp. If you're looking for a very good display, this is one of the main reasons to pick up the iPhone XS Max. In addition, video is fantastic on here. When YouTube's new picture-in-picture, I don't have it enabled on this phone, but there is going to be a lot of screen space for you to go ahead and do some multitasking with this device. If I go ahead and flip it over like so, you'll also see that it's very large display to do your media watching. So iPhone XS Max, the OLED display, makes this thing definitely worth it if you're looking for a cheaper large iPhone option. There is nothing wrong with the display. It gets very bright, 625 nits indoors, and outdoors when you have adaptive brightness on, it is legible. It's nothing like the newer 11 Pro, 12 Pro Max, but it's still legible enough, and it's super smooth. Yeah, it's not the 90 hertz, but nobody's complaining about the smooth of the iPhone XS Max. It is a smooth panel all around the board, mostly because iOS is a very smooth operating system, and it's going to stay smooth on iOS 15 as well. So next reason is the software. The software on this phone is still being updated to this day with the Apple A12 Bionic chipset. And when iOS 15 launches here in a couple of weeks, maybe even next week, we'll be seeing the iOS 15 on the iPhone XS Max as well. Looking for a very good overall panel, a very good overall, software that's going to be here on the XS Max still. So there's nothing really wrong with it. The camera, not quite the same as what you're going to find on the newer iPhones, as it doesn't have the wide angle. It doesn't have all the same pro features in the video. But other than that, you're getting the same exact experience. As a matter of fact, for those of you who have the iPhone XS Max and then you upgrade it to 11 Pro Max, the 12 Pro Max, has your life really changed in terms of what that phone really does for you? Because for me, ever since the 10s Max, the 11 Pro Max and the 12 Pro Max have felt like basically the same experience besides the camera and the battery a little bit. But overall, this has been the phone that really was pretty awesome in the past few years. This is one that started it, the iPhone 10s Max, when it comes to the large modern iPhone. Now, when it comes to the storage, the iPhone 10s Max, this one has 256 gigs. You can get this thing up to 512 gigabytes. So nothing wrong once again with the storage options available. You can get this thing with a large amount of storage, and that's a really good thing, even larger than the iPhone 12 that doesn't have a 512 gig capacity version. So if you need a lot of storage and you want a big iPhone and you want it on a cheap price point, again, you have to find this third party. Apple don't sell this no more unless you get it refurbished maybe. This phone right here definitely can give you that option. Okay guys, so dual 12 megapixel cameras right here on this phone. Let me brighten it up a bit to show those cameras. You'll see that this phone really does give you some of the best video and photo quality when it did come out. Let me show you here. We got this little toy car Lambo for a sample because it's got a bright yellow. So let's go ahead and take a photo right there and take a look at this overall sharpness. Even now in 2021, this camera has held up. If we go over here to video, even now, you're going to have a hard time finding some Android phones around $300 that are going to probably give you a more pleasing video quality than the iPhone 10s Max. It was that good at the time, and it remains that good. You can also zoom in up to 3x in 4K video, 4K 60 video. In addition to that, they did bring over some of those pro features where you can change and tweak out the video itself. You got photo, you got portrait modes that were improved over the original portrait modes. If you flip it over to the front, it wasn't the best overall front-facing camera when it comes to video as they improved that with the pros, but at HD 60, it is usable. A very good overall photo quality, 7 megapixel, although this is not going to hit that top level, 12 megapixel photo on the front. It's still decent. Portrait mode does allow you to change the f-stops as well. So the camera overall is still pretty hot. I would give it a pass definitely right now. It's not going to be the best on a phone, but it's definitely not going to disappoint. I think it can be usable for the next several years. The next 2-3 years, it would still be a usable camera. All right, so let's talk about battery on this device right here. Now, before you get in the keyboard section of your, laptop or whatever you're doing and oh, this guy, 3 years later, oh, he has 100%, there's no way. Listen. I use this phone, I test it out, I review it, I use it for 6 months, I use it hardcore, and then I switch to the next iPhone to give you more reviews. Come on, you should know that by now. Now, I will tell you if I'm making this my main driver. I can't recall saying that this was going to be my main phone over other phones at the time. I was using this and the Note series at the time and comparing them. So this device still remains at 100 for me. But I do want to warn you, if you're looking for one of these phones, keep in mind to ask the person that's selling it for the battery capacity. Don't buy one of these with low battery capacity. It will destroy the experience. It pretty much does on any iPhone if you buy it with low battery capacity, so look out for that. But if you want to know how does it fare to this day, the 3174 milliamp hour battery, it gets through a day with a little bit higher than medium usage. So not super high usage, but more than medium. So I would say high, but not very high usage. It will make it through a day. Now, running GPS, running the camera in 4K 60, playing video games, sending 600 text messages, you're not making it through a day. And this phone, maybe not even a newer iPhone, but this phone is pretty good. Not as great as a 10R, but pretty good on battery. I'm talking 5 to 6 hours screen time, where I'm getting like 7 to 9 on the 12 Pro Max. Now, when it comes to biometrics, this is Face ID. So what do you expect? It works as you would expect. Now, there are reports that just came out today talking about there may now be no notch. And I think I've said before, I wouldn't be surprised if Apple eventually takes that notch off of there. We'll have to see at Tuesday's event. So be tuned for that. It's going to be great. But I will say that, yes, this notch right here definitely makes up for it with having Face ID, which is a very secure way to unlock the iPhone. If you take a look at this wallpaper, it kind of hides it anyway. So very nice. Face ID works flawlessly here on the iPhone XS Max. Of course, if you're wearing a mask, it can get annoying because there's no other way to unlock besides using your Apple Watch or, punching in your passcode if it fails. So we'll see what happens at Tuesday's event. But biometrically on this phone right here in 2021, 3 years later, is still pretty decent. Now, discussing the phone call quality on this phone, reception never was the strongest due to not having Qualcomm modems in here. So that's one area that I'm a little bit about with this phone. It's kind of it's just average. So definitely I would say pass on that if that's your main thing. Pass on this phone altogether if you're all about that strong mobile performance, that strong 4G 5G stuff. If that matters a lot to you, this is not for you. But if you're in an urban area, it probably won't matter. And bring it all together, we're only a few days away from the iPhone 13. Is the XS Max 3 years later, has it held up? The answer is absolutely it's held up. Its longevity is pretty impressive. How durable it is, the large size, the dual cameras with 4K 60 video recording. If you just basically said, Nick, this is all you can use for the next 30 days, for the next year, I would be okay, and I would still be able to make beautiful videos with this beautiful 4K 60 video. This is a phenomenal device still, and I could recommend it again if you're looking for a budget larger iPhone and you don't want to get something like the 8 Plus and you don't want to pay for the 11 Pro Max, it's still too high, or the 12 Pro Max too high for you, and you're not into the SE and the other cheaper offerings like the 10R, you don't like LCD, it's going to be decent. Let me know your thoughts on the iPhone XS Max. Do you have one? Did you upgrade one? Do you miss it if you had it before? Let us know down below in the comment section, and stay tuned for iPhone 13 content. It's coming right here, and only on the Nick Ackerman channel are you going to find some of the most honest, some of the most real world stuff on the internet, because I don't play those games. I'm telling you like it is. I'm telling you what I experienced, and nobody's telling me to say any of this. So I'll catch you on the next one. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.